What are storage classes in C? A storage class defines the visibility and lifetime of variables or functions within a C program. Usually we write the program within a braces that defines the scope. So how the variables are available within the block and outside the block, that is defined by the storage class. So there are four different types of storage classes. They are auto, register, static, extend. We'll see the storage classes one by one. First one is auto storage class. The auto storage class is the default storage class for all variables. So if we define a variable, declare a variable int a or auto int a, both are same, both are auto storage class. So we'll see a program how these value of variables behave within a scope of a function. So in this program there is a function display which is not accepting any parameters or not returning any parameters. Hence the return type and parameters both are void. Int count is a global variable which is declared outside the main function and it is initialized with a value of 5. Void main, inside that while count minus minus, that is we are decrementing the value of count variable by 1 and we are calling the function display. Inside the display function there's a local variable declared which is I of data type int and storage class auto, and it is initialized with the value 5. We are incrementing the value of variable I by 1 and displaying the value inside the function. So we are displaying the value of I and count inside the function. Since count is a global variable, it is available inside the function also. If you are running this, executing this program, this is the output you would see. Like value of I is changing to 6, then it is again the function getting called again. So at that time also again the value of I is again incrementing. That is for every call the value of I is initialized as 5 and incremented by 1. So that's why we're seeing I is 6, and since count is a global variable, the value is decrementing after each loop, and when it reaches 0 the function call gets stopped and the program execution completed. So for every function call the variable I is initialized and incremented. So this is how a auto storage local variable behaves. Next is static storage class. In static storage class, the value of local variable is this exists during the lifetime of the program instead of creating and destroying it each time when it comes and goes out of the scope. That means the value is maintained in between the function calls. Usually during a function call, an auto variable get created, then initialized, then it get processed, and when the function gets over, that variable get destroyed. But in case of static storage class, this variable is maintained throughout the execution of the program. So it will get only destroyed once the program is over. So we'll see an example to understand it in better way. So in this example, we have a static int count, which is a global variable which is used inside the main function, and the count is getting decremented one by one, and it calls the display function. Inside the display function we have a static local static variable which is I, and it is initialized as 5, and we are incrementing the value one by one as incremented by 1, and we are displaying the result as I, the value of I, and count. So what happens after each function call? During the first function call, display is called and I is initialized as 5, and it is getting incremented by 1. So I becomes 6, and it displays I is 6 and count is 4. And in the next call, I is not getting re-initialized. So if it is a static variable, it get only initialized once in a program, and the value of I is getting incremented. So I becomes 7, and count is decremented by 1, and count is 3. Again function get called, again the same thing, which is not getting initialized. Since it is already initialized, the value of I is incremented by 1, so I become 8 and count is 2. The next call, I is incremented by 1 to 9 and count is decremented by 1. The last call, when the count becomes 0, that is the last call where I is incremented to 10 and it is displayed in the output. So now it is one important thing about the static variable is it get initialized only once, and it is the value is maintained between the function calls. So if we see the auto, for every function call the variable is getting created, initialized and destroyed when it gets over. But in case of static, it is maintained between the function calls. Next is register storage class. Register storage class is used to define local variables to be stored in a register instead of memory. So this makes the variable quicker to access, and that means it is closer to the CPU, and it can be processed much faster. So the keyword used is register. So before the data type we have to say register, then int, then the variable name. So register does not mean that always the variable will be stored in a register. It might be stored in a register depending on the implementation. Next one is extern. So extern storage class is used to give a reference of a global variable that is visible to all the program files. So extern could be used for both variable and functions. The function may or the variable may be defined, might be defined in another file. So even if it is in two different files, it can be used together. So to highlight that the variable is or the function is in the another file, extend storage class is used. This slide summarizes the properties of storage classes in C, and it is categorized as storage, initial value, scope, life, and the keyword used. So in case of automatic, static, and external, the storage is memory, whereas for register, storage is CPU registers. The initial value is unknown or garbage for automatic and register storage class. In case of static and external, it is set to 0. The scope of the variable is local for automatic, register, and static, whereas global for external storage class. The lifetime of the variable remains within the block for automatic and register, whereas for static it persists the value, means the value remains between the function calls, and for external it remains as long as the program execution does not come to an end. and the keyword used is for automatic storage class it is auto, register storage class register, static storage class static, and external storage class extern.